Hello, everyone. Listening to HeartsChat, where we speak from the heart. I'm Erica.
I'm Akila.
I'm Nicole.
Welcome to HeartsChat.
I feel like I'm finally back on track with exercising, with my hair, with my bullet journal, everything. I feel like I'm back to myself.
Oh, good. Routine really matters. When your routine falls apart, you really see, like, what was I doing? I need that. I need that structure in my life.
It's been a struggle 3 months.
Ooh, goodness gracious.
How about you?
Happy to hear. Oh, I'm good. I'm really good. Just got back from my trip.
Yes. Tell us about it.
So,
Yeah.
I went to Madrid with Iffy. So that was really fun. We had a really good time. So I got lots of pictures so I can reminisce, look at my pictures, and plan where I want to go next. I have to plan my next trip.
I really got to be on it. I'm trying to go.
Girl, I'm like, I got a new attitude. I need to keep going places. But it was nice. I spent my birthday there. And I keep saying that you would have asked me last year, what are you doing for your 27th birthday? I wouldn't have thought I'd be in Spain.
No.
Seriously. In January, I didn't think. We were talking about it, but I was like, getting our plans together. And I kept saying, I'm going to go. And I just went.
You did it.
So, yeah, it was nice. So, I'm just trying to, I'm not going to get off that high. I'm still going to stay on it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just getting back into my routine and, back to the regular
Life.
And, yeah, all of that. So, that's about it for me.
All right.
And Nicole's not here, but she's studying and she's got stuff like that going on. So, that's what she's doing.
Yep. Keep her in our hearts.
Yeah, so we're going to get into our interview. Today we are talking with licensed clinical social worker Nate Terrell. Nate has been a therapist for the past 40 years. He provides training on self-compassion through his company, Organizational Growth. He teaches interpersonal communication at Temple University and recently published a book entitled Achieving Self-Compassion, Giving Yourself the Gifts of Happiness and Inner Peace.
Wow, that's impressive. It's a lot.
Very impressive.
And the whole self-compassion, I love the concept of it, and I can't wait to hear Nate explain about it.
Me too. So we want to thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to hear about self-compassion and what you have to share.
Hello, Nate.
Okay, should I go ahead?
Yeah, so we want to know what sparked your interest in self-compassion.
Okay. I grew up in a family where there was a lot of focus put on helping everybody else and helping create a better world. And for most of my life, I was really focused a lot more on everybody else's happiness and peace than on my own. And I adopted our son, Darkway, when he was 9 years old, and he came to us with a lot of baggage from his past, and I was always hovering him around and trying to make him happy, trying to take away his anger and his frustration. And we had lots of ups and downs in our relationship, although he's really a sweet young man. But about 5 years ago, we were driving in my car, and he said to me, "You know what I hate the most about you, Dad?" And I said, "What's that, buddy?" And he said, "You think you could make me happy?" He said, "You think you could take away my inner pain?" And I was really stunned, and because it never occurred to me that I couldn't. And I said to him, "Well, of course I want to. I don't know what to do." And he said, "Just leave me alone." He said, "I have to figure that out for myself." And he said,
Wow.
"Why don't you worry about yourself for a change?"
Whoa.
And I was really jolted by that, and but I realized it was true. And so I started to invest a lot more of my energy on looking after my own needs, being my own best friend, taking great care of myself. And I was sort of surprised and maybe even astounded at first to realize that the better care I took of myself, the more self-compassionate I was, of course, the more I had to give to other people. And for most of my life, I felt I had to choose between being good to myself and good to others. But of course, the better I was to myself, I filled myself up, my cup was runneth over, and I had a lot more to give to everybody else. And so that inspired me to write the book. And of course, being self-compassionate to ourselves isn't about being self-centered or selfish. It's about really living with a sense of abundance. So we feel whole inside, and therefore we have more to give to other people.
Wow. That is definitely telling, to have, our children say these things to us.
How old was he when he said that?
He was maybe 13, 14 years old.
Goodness.
He had such insight, and it had never really occurred to me. Nobody had ever said that to me before.
Yeah.
I just assumed that my purpose in this earth was to take everybody else's unhappiness. And of course, I realized people in the world aren't just like sitting around waiting to be rescued by me. There's sort of like a grandiosity, in that. Mm-hmm. And of course, only we can really turn the key to our happiness. It's really an internal decision that we need to make. We can't make anybody else choose happiness.
Definitely.
Honestly.
Right, exactly. Well, can you explain to our listeners what self-compassion means for those who don't know?
In a nutshell, it's really being loving and kind to ourselves. And I've identified 10 portals in my book, which you mentioned earlier. I'd like to just say a couple things about some of the major portals. Certainly the first one, the most important one, is to simply be our own best friend, to talk to ourselves out loud or within ourselves in a kind, gentle, caring way. So many of my clients and so many people I know are loving and gentle and kind towards everybody else, but then they beat themselves up. So I talk to myself all day long, and it may sound a little grandiose, but it doesn't mean I think I'm better than anybody else, because I certainly don't. But I'll say to myself, I love you, buddy, hang in there. If I make a mistake, I say, okay, just do your best next time. I provide myself with a running commentary. And I tell my clients, particularly clients that are depressed or stressed out, they need to envision they're standing underneath like Niagara Falls, and the water drenching them from above is, bathing them in self-love and self-compassion. It's really our inner voice that dictates whether we're happy or stressed out or depressed, and it's so crucial to be gentle on ourselves. And clients often ask me, well, how many times should I do this? And I say, look, start with 1 million and then take it from there. I mean, if somebody's had a lifetime of beating themselves up, it's going to take more than a couple of positive comments to themselves to help them turn the corner.
Right.
It's also important to know that we're inherently worthwhile. So many people think they have to earn their worth by being a perfect person or accumulating wealth or possessions or never making any mistakes. But I really believe very deeply we're inherently worthy. It comes from my Quaker background. Quakers believe in the inner light and inner goodness and worthiness. It's very important not to project our needs onto other people. So many people assume it's other people's responsibility to make them happy, and they spend their lives searching for people that can tell them what they need to hear or give them what they feel they want. It's a lot simpler to meet our own needs. And that doesn't mean that we should all go live in a cave. We're all relational beings, for sure. But I find that I'm a lot more effective as a person when I'm meeting my own needs rather than looking out for other people to do that. Probably the biggest change in my life was, for years, I felt I needed my unhappiness to motivate me to achieve my goals and be the best person I could be. And many years ago, I learned that I could give myself the gift of happiness. Our older daughter has special needs, and we went to a treatment program, and they asked us a simple question that changed my life. They asked me, what would happen if you weren't unhappy about the situation with Nikki? And in fact, she was developing typically. And it suddenly occurred to me that I didn't need my unhappiness. And I remember being astounded by the question. And I think I said something like, if I wasn't unhappy, maybe I wouldn't be motivated to take care of her. And they said, why don't you choose to be happy and keep doing all the good things you're doing?
True.
Along with that, it's very important to take great care of ourselves. Only we really know our deepest needs, and we can meet our needs so much more effectively. Something I may talk about later on if it comes up is tuning into our authentic self, getting out of our heads, tuning into our true being that never changes. And the final two portals are appreciating what we already have. I try to appreciate continually every good thing in my life. And then finally, just be in the moment. Again, try to get out of our heads, try to get out of rumination and worry, and just be present in the current moment. So those are some of the ways, we can achieve self-compassion.
I think that's such, it's such a powerful portals. And I really like the image of the Niagara Falls, such a powerful image. And something we talk about all the time is we talk about happiness and choosing to be happy. And recently, because we have, our Instagram page, I posted a post about, you decide,
I choose to be happy
I choose to be happy today. And one of our viewers had commented, like, really? You really choose to be happy? Like, you just wake up, you're depressed, you just wake up and decide to be happy? And I responded, well, it's not as simple that you just wake up, boom, I'm happy, but it is a choice that you make. You decide, I would like to be happy. If you're not, and this is my goal, I'm making a decision that that's what I want to accomplish. And that, I think, it is that simple to decide, yes, I would like to be happy, and then you have to follow up with, X, Y, Z to reach that goal.
And of course, it's a little tricky because if somebody comes in with a major trauma in their lives, if I'm working with a couple that recently had a child die, or somebody just finds out they have cancer, it would be cruel to say, oh, just choose happiness. I mean, when people are first going through trauma and reeling from it, it's not very helpful for people to say, oh, just be happy.
Right.
But really outside of traumatic situations, outside of life and death situations or health situations, I've really come to realize it is possible to choose happiness. And whenever I'm unhappy or stressed out or anxious, I just say to myself, look, this is a choice, and what other choice could I make? It really involves rewiring our brains. So many people are hardwired just to be unhappy about things. But of course, our unhappiness doesn't change anything. It just, drains us and sort of takes the energy out of our lives. So I'm a big one for making that choice every day, every moment, as much as we possibly can.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And it sounds like you've done so much work within yourself, just from what you've been telling us so far. And was wondering, what would you say is or was the hardest part of teaching yourself to have self-compassion?
I grew up in a family where both of my parents were very hard on themselves, and I just assumed that to become the best person I could be, to achieve my goals, I need to beat up on myself. I need to be self-critical. And it took me a lot of focus and a lot of discipline and a lot of effort, first to recognize every time I was being hard on myself, and second of all, to change my inner dialogue.
Yes.
And of course, I realized that I was much more effective becoming the best person I could be when I wasn't hard on myself. I tell my clients all the time, look, I can't convince them to do this stuff, that it really works. They need to try it, and they need to prove to themselves that, again, they can be just as motivated through abundance and happiness and peace of mind and joy, and that they can anything else, and that it doesn't help at all to be hard on ourselves. I also believed at one point that it was selfish, to be self-compassionate. A lot of my clients believe this. And of course, it's selfish to look out for your own needs at the expense of somebody else's.
Yes.
But actually, it's being self-compassionate is a very selfless thing in a lot of ways. It's paradoxical, because when we're self-compassionate, we're not inward focused. I mean, people that are depressed or anxious are constantly thinking about themselves and ruminating in their own head. And of course, the more energy we put into being self-compassionate, of course, the more we have to give other people. So there's nothing selfish about that at all. I think in a lot of ways, I felt like I didn't deserve self-compassion, maybe because of mistakes I've made. But I realized I can't go back and reverse anything I've done. It doesn't mean I don't take responsibility for my mistakes, but I really believe I deserve self-compassion every second. And I guess finally, it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of discipline. It's not the kind of thing you can just, say a couple of positive affirmations and feel good. It has to be a way of life. It has to be
Exactly.
rooted habit that we automatically talk to ourselves in a gentle way rather than beating ourselves up.
I agree with that.
And let me ask both of you, why do you think it's so hard for people to be self-compassionate?
I mean, I think it's a lot of what you've said. A lot of people are always like the givers. They want to look out for everyone else. It's really hard to look inward and have self-awareness and kind of talk about your flaws and try to work through them. It's always easier to put it on other people. So I think that's like a major barrier for people to really be more introspective than to focus on ourselves rather than others.
Yeah, I think it's easier to focus on other people than it is to focus on yourself. So I think sometimes maybe out of habit, people are just so used to looking at other people, thinking about what other people are doing, that they just kind of forget about themselves, or maybe they feel they aren't deserving. They don't deserve to be happy for, maybe they don't want to invest the money into it or invest the time into themselves. Or maybe they just don't know, how to do that.
Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting. I mean, kids can probably spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours in school learning math and science, social stuff. That's great stuff, but we don't teach kids this stuff.
No.
And if you grow up in a family where your parents are constantly unhappy, then where are you going to learn it? There's not a lot of societal reinforcement out there in terms of being happy and peaceful. And in fact, sometimes peaceful, happy people are almost viewed as distrust, like, what's wrong with them?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so
Yes.
true. I don't think that mental health is a priority. It's not way that my mental health has to be good. I have to be happy. It's more I have to go to work. I have to pay the bills. I have to make sure my kids are fed. I have to go to work. Those type of things, the outward type of things. But we don't focus so much on the inside work that needs to be done.
It absolutely, and I often say to people, look, it's within your capacity to do this, and they sort of look at me in amazement. And when people choose to be self-compassionate, it doesn't mean that their problems all magically disappear. I mean, a big part of this is letting go of what we can't control, the serenity prayer and surrendering. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not suggesting if somebody's in intense pain, they're going to be dancing around joyfully.
Yeah,
but I
course.
find if my clients can even make a little bit of progress on this, it just increases their sense of empowerment exponentially, and it really starts a whole new chapter in their lives of recognizing, wow, I can make different choices. And it's so exciting for me to be their companion and guide as they go through this process.
Oh, what populations do you work with?
I work with almost anybody that comes to my door. I don't work with young kids, but I work with individuals. I work with families. Mm-hmm. I work with couples. I particularly enjoy young adults. I teach at Temple. So I really do. I'm sort of a generalist. But I have found that almost every single client can benefit from self-compassion. And I have different approaches. I have different techniques and strategies. But without a doubt, the deepest pain we often feel is our internal judgment and criticism. I mean, I've worked with so many people over the years that, they're just in despair because of their lack of worth, because of the negative messages they give themselves. Even people that have been badly treated by other people often tell me that's not as bad as what I say to myself. So at this point, it's really the common theme in a lot of my work with almost anybody, with almost everybody. And once they start learning these strategies, a lot of times they don't even need to come here anymore. I mean, I had a young woman that had chronic postpartum depression, and she came for 6 or 7 times, and I gave her a copy of my book, and she said, look, it's great talking to you, but all I need to do now is practice strategies and read the book. I mean, the book is really is filled with lots of things people can do. I mean, it's great to go see a therapist, but you don't necessarily need to see somebody else an hour a week or whatever. You can just practice the stuff wherever you are, free of charge. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like it's very step by step. Mm-hmm. So, what would you say are some common barriers that you find people share when they learn how to when they first start working out with self-compassion?
I'm sorry. Wait. You said what are the barriers?
The common barriers that some people may come in with when they're first starting out to learn how to be more self-compassionate.
Yeah, clearly people have very deeply ingrained habits. If somebody's said to themselves, hundreds, thousands of times, you're a loser, you never do anything right, it's so deeply entrenched in their psyche that it just, again, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of focus. Many of them have never even thought of the impact their own negative self-talk has on them. Clearly, it's very, very hard for people to get out of their heads. And by that I mean that most people define who they are based on their thoughts and their feelings. So they go round and round and round and round with worry, anxiety, rumination, regret. And I do a simple exercise with my clients that often has a very profound effect on them and for them. I ask them to think about one thing that they're upset about, something they don't like about themselves or a problem they're having in their lives. And then I ask them to look outside at a tree outside my office or my guitar sitting in the corner of my office or something else around them and really tune into that, or even maybe a positive memory. And then I ask them, who's doing the switching? And they look at me with puzzlement. And then I say to them, look, we all have the capacity to change what we think about. We all have the capacity to change our focus, to replace negative thoughts with positive visualizations or things we're looking forward to. So the number one thing I think is that where I start with clients is often to get them to recognize they can change their focus. Mm-hmm. But along with that, I help them get out of their heads entirely by tuning into the moment, the whole mindfulness stuff which I'm sure both of you and most listeners are aware of.
Yeah.
To tune into their senses. I tell clients, when you're driving away from my office after your appointments, rather than go round and round in your head about all your problems, try to focus on the trees or look at the horses. I have a home office in the woods. There's lots of beautiful farmland around, or listen to a good song on the radio, or just feel the steering wheel. To try to transcend your head. Of course, all of our problems only exist inside our head. Now, if somebody's starving in a concentration camp, I'm not saying that's not a problem. Yeah. But we create a lot of our problems by our reactions. As we transcend our thoughts and tune into a deeper part of ourselves, tune into the moment, it's very transformational. And it doesn't magically, get rid of everybody's problems, any different problems that somebody has.
Yeah.
But what it does is give them a little bit of a lift, a little bit of a sense of hope and possibility. Really, one of my major goals is to think as little as I can about things and really trust myself.
Okay.
Really trust my deeper, authentic self. And it's amazing to me how often I'll have a problem that I'm going round and round and round in my head about, and I can't think of a solution. And I put it into an internal part of me I call my hopper, and I just trust the solution will come. And sure enough, usually the next day when I'm jogging or I'm in the shower or I'm driving, all of a sudden the solution magically comes, and it's always the right solution. So again, I think the biggest barrier for people is often to get out of their heads.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And then finally, I think it's very, very difficult for people not to look to other people to rescue them or meet their needs. But for clients that were mistreated during their childhoods, I tell them it's really tragic what happened, but it's unlikely you're going to find an adult partner who's going to meet all your needs like your parents should have. And so many people burn everybody else out around them looking to be rescued. And I say, look, the more you can meet your own needs, the less you need from other people.
Right.
It's really a sense of freedom. It's really wonderful. It makes me feel like I'm an eagle soaring high in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I see that you do classes and trainings, and you mentioned before that in school we learn, math, reading, writing, but we don't learn about self-compassion. Do you do trainings or classes for kids at school on self-compassion?
I guess I do. I've been doing training in schools for years on a lot of things, bullying, team building, diversity, and I've recently begun going into schools and teaching kids, how to be gentle in themselves, teaching kids how to let go of feeling that their worth is based on how other kids respond to them. I have kids lying on the floor and meditating and getting in touch with a peaceful place within inside themselves. And of course, I say to kids, it's not all just about being self-compassionate towards yourself. It's about being self-compassionate to others. So I start usually focusing on these portals, and I kind of tailor them to the kids in what ages they are, et cetera. And then we spend the second part of the training talking about, okay, now that when you've filled yourself with self-compassion, now what can you do to spread it around in the world and to pass it on? So I focus on both of these things. And I find intrinsically kids often understand this stuff more than adults. I mean, kids are great at visualization.
Yeah.
I ask kids to close their eyes, and a couple of years ago, one student said she was sitting on a cloud passing through the sky. I mean, it's really magical.
Yeah.
Kids understand about going to a peaceful place within a lot easier than adults. And, of course, kids also understand about being in the moment. I mean, just watching kids at play, they're so unself-conscious. They're so in the moment. It's beautiful.
It's
I wish all adults had that ability.
Yeah, I love watching kids play. It's like they don't realize other people are around. They're just, watching them. They just they're in their own little world. But I think it is good to have that, for kids, because kids are like sponges. Teach them young, they soak it up so that they can be, adults that know how to do this versus adults who may have never learned this in their childhood and, struggle to try to learn it now after years of being told, they can't do something or they're worthless or undeserving. I think it's powerful. That's why I like working with kids, to try to plant the seeds while they're young versus when they're adults.
And I also go and I also do training with adults. I do stress management. I do a lot of training with nurses, people who work at nonprofits, corporations. I mean, it's interesting how many adults are fascinated by this stuff. And of course, it helps decrease stress, it increases resilience, and it helps create a work environment where people are much more caring towards other people. So it's not only individuals that need this; it's organizations too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's so true.
definitely.
So true. And when I'm thinking about this, I keep thinking about parents, because there's so many parents that, we work with that, will come and sign their kid up for therapy, and then, will question, well, what about you, or, your needs. And parents will say, well, I want my kids to get it first, not me. Not realizing, if you're not okay, your kids aren't going to be okay.
Exactly.
Or if you were, okay, that will transfer over into your kids' life. Some of their issues, would kind of dwindle away if you would, get the help that you need, or the support that you need.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. So can you tell everyone how they can purchase your book and access your website?
I would love to. My book, again, it's called Achieving Self-Compassion, Giving Yourself the Gifts of Happiness and Inner Peace. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available on Barnes & Noble. And my website is www.achievingselfcompassion.com. Again, www.achievingselfcompassion.com. And on my website, I list these strategies. I have 4 sample chapters from my book. I have a forum where people can write their own experiences and discuss them. And I have some other links on there. I have a newsletter people can sign up for. And I also have a place you can click to go to my Facebook page. I have an Achieving Self-Compassion Facebook page, and where again people can talk about their own challenges and successes with self-compassion. So I invite any listeners to check my website out. And I'm really passionate about spreading the word and about this. In fact, I want to really focus on this the rest of my life. As much as I enjoy being a therapist and doing training, I also want to just sort of spread the word however I can, and promote this book and promote these ideas. And there's a lot of other good stuff right now about this out there too. Mm-hmm. I think what's somewhat unique, at least for me, is the fact that I weave a lot of my own biography and stories and challenges into the book. And also, I think the book is pretty practical. There's a lot of great stuff on mindfulness, and some of it's pretty esoteric. And my book tries to give people very concrete and specific things they can do and practice every day.
Wow.
Nice. That's what people like. People like, tell me what I can do.
Yeah.
Give me the steps. So that's really cool. So we appreciate you coming on our show and talking with us. It was very, very interesting and very inspiring.
Yeah, inspiring is definitely something I would use to describe.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm honored to have this opportunity. And for everybody out there listening, please love yourself, give to yourself, take great care of yourself. You deserve it.
Great.
Well,
thank you. So, yeah, final thoughts. What do you think about the interview?
I love the interview. I wish it could be longer because I know we could talk about this on and on for all day.
Definitely.
All day. I just kept thinking, wish we were in a coffee shop. We could just sit and chat about this. I really liked the images. First of all, I'm a visual learner, so that's just how I learn, but I liked hearing about the powerful images, the trees, the waterfall. That I just think is so powerful because you can think about it and refer back to those memories, of not memories, but those images and use them wherever you are, in your car, at home, at work, wherever. You can always go back and use those. And I also like that he gives step-by-step.
Yes, that was very important.
Yeah, because people first of all, people think the whole mental health therapy, sometimes it's magic.
Yeah.
I come here, it's magic, wave your magic wand and fix everything. And people are tell me what to do. Well, a lot of it, you can't necessarily tell you what to do, but I like that he has steps. Mm-hmm. Now, these are some steps, these are some ideas, some things you can do. You can follow these, try these, and it's not just do this, it works, but has to be your life, a part of your lifestyle. You have to practice it, which we preach that.
Yes, and more. Yeah. Yes, I think that was one of the most important things he said, that it has to be a part of your lifestyle. It just doesn't happen overnight, and I feel like people think, with anything, not just therapy, that it's I come to this, it's going to happen overnight, I'm going to change, I'm going to be happy. No, it takes time and a process. It took you this long to get this way. It's going to take probably about that much time, maybe a little less, to get to where you want to be.
Right. And I also like that he said you have to believe.
Yep.
Because
preach.
As cliche as it sounds, it's true. You do have to believe. And if you think back, like, I like to watch documentaries and people, and I just like to watch stuff. I like to learn. And one common thread I always hear people say is you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe whatever you want. And these are impactful, influential people saying these things. Like, listen to them. There's truth to it. You know, you really have to believe. And I really like that he said that doing these things, you know, the seed is hope. You know, it instills hope, that you hope that whatever your goal is, where you want to be, how you want to feel, that you can get there.
I agree.
think, you know, that's powerful. So I was all in it.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with what you said, with what he said. I'm all about the whole self-compassion concept, because it is important for us to, you know, kind of get out of our heads and start treating ourselves, like he said, like your best friend. Mm-hmm. So,
right.
I thought it was great.
Right. Because you are with you every day, you know.
24/7.
Right. Why not be your own best friend?
Exactly.
So we will have all of his information on our Instagram page. So go to our Instagram page, HeartsChat Radio, and you will find like his website, and all his other information is on his website for his book, his email, his trainings,
Yes.
all of that if you'd like to get connected with Nate. So again, thank you. We really appreciate him coming and talking with us today.
Yep. Guess I should get started.
Yep, about that time.
If you are an artist and would like us to play your music, or have a product or brand that you would like us to advertise, or if you have any questions or comments, please email us at HeartsChat@HeartsChatRadioshow.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Periscope at HeartsChat, and our Instagram at HeartsChat Radio. We post a lot of motivational messages up throughout the day, so if you need a little inspiration or pick-me-up, follow our pages. And for more information on HeartsChat, be sure to visit our website, www.HeartsChatRadioshow.com.
We hope you enjoyed our show today. Tune in every Sunday and Tuesday on HeartsChatRadioshow.com for a new episode of HeartsChat. So don't forget to tune in again at HeartsChatRadioshow.com and check us out.
And visit my blog and ask me all of your relationship questions anonymously at FromErica'sHeart.com. Thank you for listening to HeartsChat, where we speak from the heart. Bye-bye.